Hi everybody, welcome to Stamping with Melva. My name is Melva Peters and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Canada. And today I wanted to show you how to make this really pretty pop-up card. It's probably one of the simplest ways I've ever had to make a pop-up card. And I learned this from Laura Buchler, who demonstrated it on a Vancouver Island demonstrator event. So I just wanted to share it with you. Thank you, Laura, for sharing it with us, and show you how I made this really pretty pansy card using this pop-up technique. So let me just switch over to my desktop and I'll show you how we make this card. All right, so here's the card. I actually shared this today on my blog, and so it's really pretty. Never mind the pop-up that's inside. This really pretty with the Pansy Petals Designer Series paper, and then the beautiful pansy that I will show you how to make. And I've made it in, this is Soft Succulent, which is one of the brand new Stampin' Up! In colors, as well as Evening Evergreen, which is this just pop of, kind of looks really dark, but it's a really dark green color. Fresh Freesia is part of this, and I think there's even Pale Papaya, and I think all of the in colors are in here, Pale Papaya and Polished Pink. So, but wait till you see what's inside. So look at this. Isn't this adorable? So you open it up and this inside pops up, and I've stamped a poppy, or not a poppy, a pansy, and then the sentiment on the inside. So let me show you how to make the card. All right, so all of the written instructions and measurements for this card are on my blog, and the link to my blog is underneath this video. So if you miss any of the measurements as I go through this, you can get them on my blog. So I'm going to bring in my trimmer. So first of all, this is the card base, and it's cut 5.5 by 8.5, and you're going to score it in half at 4.25. So it really is just the same size and the same cut of card base as a regular card. Okay, so I've done that. Now that's the first piece. Now you need a piece of the same color. So again, Soft Succulent, and this is cut 5 by 5. And what we're going to do is we're going to score this in half. So we're going to score this in half at 2.5, and then we're going to turn it 90 degrees and score it again in half. So at the 2.5, and then we're going to turn it 45 degrees. So now you're going to line up the points in your trimmer track, or if you're using a ruler and a scoring tool, a stylus, you're going to line up your ruler with these end points, and you want to score from point to point. Okay, so it's probably hard to see, but now I've got a score that goes this way, and this way. So again, I scored it in half along the 1 5-inch side at 2.5. I turned it 90 degrees and I scored it again. And then I turned it 45 degrees and I scored from point to point along the diagonal. You're only going to do that in one direction. So that's that piece. Yep, I have a couple more here. So I've got, this is for the inside of the card. This is basic white cardstock, and it is cut 4 inches by 5.25. I've got a piece of Evening Evergreen. Isn't this pretty? Oh my gosh, it is such a pretty color. And this is cut 5 inches by 3 3/4. And then the Designer Series paper is cut 4 7/8 by 3 5/8. So again, all of these measurements are on my blog if you missed it. So again, 3 5/8 by 4 7/8, and then that piece is, what did I say, 3 3/4 by 5. All right, and then 4 more pieces. So you've got 2 pieces of basic white. This is for the inside of the card. These are cut 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. So you need 2 pieces. And then 2 pieces of Designer Series paper, both cut 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. Now these pieces, and you can put them together, you're going to cut. I'm just going to put them together. You don't have to do this. You can cut them separately, but you're going to cut on the diagonal. So I'm just lining my points up in my trimmer so that the points are in the opening in the track, and I'm just going to cut those in half to make 4 triangles, and I'll show you what to do that. Okay, so that's all the cutting and scoring that you need to do. The other pieces that you're going to need are for the pansy, but we'll put our card together first. So we're just going to fold our card base, and you're going to need your bone folder for this because you really do want to make sure everything is creased well. And then you got your designer series paper piece that you can adhere. Isn't this stripe so pretty? Oh my gosh, it would make a great masculine card. With this one, I'm going to use the other side with the beautiful pansies on it. All right, so you're going to adhere your designer series paper. And now I've got somewhere, this is the Fresh Freesia open weave ribbon. This is one of the new ribbons. And I'm just going to take and cut. So you need a piece that is at least 5, well, more than that. So probably about 7 inches because you're going to wrap it around your card base. And I'm just going to adhere it to the back using Stampin' Seal or whatever your favorite. You could use a glue dot just to adhere it to both ends of the back. Get it even. There we go. Okay, and then this piece can adhere to the front of your card. Okay, and then the other thing that you can do is you can adhere the inside piece. So the basic white piece, you can adhere to the inside of your card as well. Kind of gets everything prepped and ready to go before you start putting the inside together. So you've got your front of your card and now the inside of your card. So now we can actually start working on the pop-up mechanism. So what you want to do is take your bone folder and just score or burnish really well, crease all of these folds. So you can just take it and on each of the score lines, just use your bone folder to give them a really good crease. Okay, so now with it as a diamond, not a square. So you want it facing you as a diamond. And if you just take your fingers and put behind the diagonal scores, you're going to just bring those forward. So lift up on these diagonal folds and it will actually all kind of just fold together and you will end up with a 2.5 inch square. Let me show you that again. So you have it facing you in a diagonal or in a diamond. On the diagonal folds, just take your middle fingers and lift up on it. Lift up on these diagonal fold lines or on the points, and you will see it just really wants to go together and make a 2.5 inch square, which is really cool. Okay. So these pieces that we cut, these you can use whichever. You could use the same designer series paper that you want used on the front, or you could use a different one like I'm going to. But you've cut these into triangles, and these will now adhere to these triangle pieces on the inside. This is the pop-up. I'm going to call this the pop-up mechanism. So these just adhere on either side of the score line. And you have 2 of these. So on both sides like this. Again, you can use the other side of the designer series paper if you want. And so that would be the same designer series paper on the front, or you can do it different like I'm doing. Okay. So that's that part of the mechanism. Now these 2 pieces will go here and here. So I'm going to stamp these. So I'm going to use Evening Evergreen. And I'm going to put this sentiment that says, wishing you a little extra happiness because you're you. Okay. And then on this one, I'm going to stamp. So I've grabbed the pieces, the stamps. Oh, I didn't show you this. I should have showed you this. This is the set I'm using. I'm using Pansy Petal, and this is the stamp set, and this is the bundle. So it comes with these great stamps, so you can stamp pansies, as well as some really pretty sentiments. Thank you, happy birthday, and just some really pretty sentiments. And I love the mixture of the block font and the cursive font. And then the bundle comes with these great dies that you can make. You can cut out the stamped pansies as well as the leaves. There are some pansies and designers and leaves on the designer series paper that you can just cut out using these dies. It's great. Or you can make the three-dimensional pansy that I'm going to show you in just a minute. Okay, so now this one, when you're stamping, what you want to do is your mechanism is going to go into your card as a diamond. So you want to make sure that when you're stamping, you stamp these at an angle. So like I did on this one, I've stamped it at an angle, the sentiment, because if you stamp it on the square, it's going to look a little funny. So now I'm just going to stamp. I grabbed my fresh freesia, and I've grabbed Gorgeous Grape ink. And I'm going to stamp the fresh freesia. This is the more solid shape, I guess. So I'm going to stamp that in fresh freesia. And then there is this more detailed die or stamp that I'm going to just go over and stamp in the Gorgeous Grape. So that's my purple. Now I've got a pansy face that fits on the inside. See how easy this is just to make a beautiful pansy. And then here it is. So it's 4 stamps to make this pansy like that. Oh my gosh, it's so pretty. Okay. And then, oh, I didn't, yes I did. I brought some Mango Melody, and this is going to have a really bright center to my pansy. Pansies are all colors, and so they're just so pretty. Okay. Using my piece over here. Okay, and now I'm just going to stamp my stamps out of the way. I've got the Evening Evergreen and Soft Succulent. Close that up before I get my fingers in it. And I've got the two pieces to do the leaves, the 2 stamps to do the leaves. So I'm going to stamp in Soft Succulent. And then this is the detailed stamp in Evening Evergreen, just to give it some detail. Okay. Got my, didn't want to do that. I had a vision of that going all over my hands. All right, so these can go. So again, I've stamped this on the angle, on an angle, so that it goes in and will pop up on an angle. Oops. Now I'm just using Stampin' Seal for mine. I find it's really sticky. If you want, not so much on these pieces, but when we put our mechanism together, you could use Stampin' Seal Plus. You can use tear and tape adhesive. I'm just going to use the Stampin' Seal because it seems to work well, but whatever is your preference. Now, what you want to do to put these together is to fold it back like you did before, using your fingers to just kind of push it into its shape of a 2.5 inch. And now we're going to take it and we're going to line this up roughly, get it centered, and the point needs to be in the fold or pretty close to the fold line. So that's pretty close. So I've got this, my 2.5 inch diamond shape, which is my pop-up mechanism. I've got adhesive all around, and I'm just put it on here. I've only got one side of this. This is the only adhesive side for now, and I'm just going to close the card on it. So now I've got that piece in, and now we can put adhesive on the other side of it. Oops, a little adhesive there. I'm going to have to get that off. All right, there we go. Okay, and now you can just close the back of the card on it. And now when you open it, you've got your pop-up mechanism. How easy was that? Okay, now it's time to make this beautiful pansy. Now I've got one here that I have already put together, but I'm going to show you. I've cut out all of the pieces. Oh, and we've got one sentiment left to do as well. Okay, so there are lots of pieces that go into the pansy. Don't be intimidated by this, because it really is easy to get to put together. So for the pansy, if I bring my dies in, you need one of these, which is this piece here, which will be the kind of the face of the pansy. So that's this face. You need two of these, which are the back petals. You need two of these pieces, which are these kind of caps. You need one of these large, this is the bottom petal, like that. So in mine, I've got two of these in Gorgeous Grape. I've got this round kind of cap on the large piece. My large petal is in Basic White on this one, and then Fresh Freesia in this one, and then Gorgeous Grape and Fresh Freesia. You need, oh, I'm missing a piece. All right, well, I thought I had cut everything out. I will have to grab my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Let's just put these. So this is the kind of the smiley face piece for the center of your pansy. And so I will just cut one of those. See my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, which is just amazing for having close at hand. Okay. All right, so now I've got my smiley, what I call a smiley face. You need one of those. And then you need a center. Now the die for the center of the pansies cuts 3 out, which is great because these are so small, sometimes they kind of go missing. So, and then for the leaves, I've cut 2 of the one size each of the full leaf in Soft Succulent, and then I've cut 1 of the detail each in Evening Evergreen, the small and the large. Okay, so let me show you how. Now that I've got everything cut out, I'm just going to use, I find that you're using multi-purpose adhesive glue works best. And I'm just going to, actually let me grab my silicone mat. I like to have it down so that I'm not getting adhesive on my grid paper, and then things stick to it this way. So you don't need a lot of adhesive. I'm just using a little bit of adhesive, and these fit right. It's exactly the same shape as the edge of it. So you can just line up, and the multi-purpose adhesive glue gives you just a little bit of wiggle room to play with it and get it in the right position. So again, you don't need a lot. You don't want to drop it on the floor either. No, okay, there we go. And then so line it up with the edge, just kind of position it. the same as this one. This lines up. The outside is exactly the same shape as the large piece. So you can just take and position this and wiggle it around. There we go. I've got those. Okay. Now I use just a little bit of the glue to put these two pieces together. And really, I'm just kind of positioning them like a fan, one edge to the edge. And then I like to use mini dimensionals because I like to have my top petals, my top petals popped up a little bit. You can just use multi-purpose adhesive glue if you don't want to do that. But this just gives it some extra dimension. Oops. Trying to get the backings off without pulling the dimensional off. Okay, so now you can just take and position the bottom petal on. So now we've got the shape of the pansy. Isn't it great? It's embossed, oopsie. It's embossed as well as cut, which is really cool. It just adds that extra dimension. Now the next piece to go on is the happy face, the smiley face part of the pansy. And again, I'm just using a little bit of glue. Like this. And again, your multi-purpose adhesive glue gives you a chance to play with it and get it in the right position. So it lines up perfectly. And then the last piece, I'm going to use a glue dot for because I just find these little dots. They're so small and hard to work with. I just find a glue dot works. And the glue dot's just a little bit big, so I just kind of grab it with my take your pick tool and then kind of fold the edges. Now, I'm not sure if there's a right way and a wrong way to do this, whether the point of, it's not a circle, it's actually kind of a teardrop. And so I'm going to put the point up. I'm not sure if that's the right way to do it, but that's the way I'm going to do it. Okay, and now we've got two leaves. So this is, like I said, this is really easy. Once you've got your pieces, so don't be intimidated by this pansy. There are a lot of pieces, but they actually do go together pretty easy. They've done a great job of making the shapes exactly the same so you can line up the edges. You could use, if you wanted to, the adhesive sheets, and that way you've got adhesive fully on the pieces, and it might make it a little easier than glue if you're not, don't like to use glue. But, okay, and then I'm just going to use a glue dot to adhere, oops, wrong side. I need to adhere it to the back of my pansy. So I'm going to put one like that. And one like that. Isn't that pretty? And then now this is just going to go, and I'm going to use dimensionals to pop this up. Backs off, okay, and then this can just go over here, and we've got one last, we're just going to stamp our sentiment, and I have the thank you stamp, and I'm going to stamp this in Evening Evergreen, and I'm stamping it on. I've cut out, this is the smallest rectangle die, the scalloped rectangle dies from, these are the scallop contour dies that coordinate with the color and contour stamp set. And they come with these great, there's 5 different sizes. And I know I've talked about this before on my videos because I'm in love with these. This is my go-to die set these days. So there are 5 different rectangles, scallop rectangles, all with different kinds of stitching. This smallest one has little dots on it, and I just love it. All right, and so now this, I'm going to use dimensionals, find them. Now, when I put dimensionals on the back of a label, I try not to put them in a line because I find that especially if your label is a big like this one is, if you put them all on a line, your label will wobble, if that makes sense. It's kind of not stable. So by kind of offsetting them, it just kind of makes it so that the label doesn't wobble. Now I put ribbon behind it, and you don't actually see the ribbon very much, so you could even leave the ribbon off. Now, I'm one last piece to this. Now, I know at the moment these are back ordered. These are the bumblebee trinkets, but they are coming back into stock by the end of May, so hopefully you will be able to get yours. They are just the cutest little honeybees that coordinate with this Pansy Petal product suite. And so I'm just going to use them. There we go. So that's my card, and then when you pop it up, you get the pansy inside and the sentiment. Isn't that pretty? Okay, so let me just switch over again, and yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that. If you're making this card and you have any questions, please leave a comment, and while you're here, I'd love for you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I do post on a regular basis, and you'll be notified when I post another video. So like I said, if you have questions or comments, just leave a comment here, or if you're on my blog checking that out, getting the written instructions and the measurements for my card, leave a comment over there. I'd love to know that you're watching. So thanks everybody for watching. Hope you have a great day. Happy stamping.